So it's been a few weeks and I'm still finding washers in strange places because of the washer video. Well, hey there, my marinated molecular mollusks. So, if you haven't heard the more recent news, MachineWise discontinued most of their usual inventory. Well, actually, not this one. This one's still in production, and so is the Opus, actually. And don't think I didn't notice the sloob. I know I hit the sloob. I always know when I hit the sloob. You can't just hide that from me. So yeah, aside from the Serif and the new Opus pattern that they're planning to put into production, MachineWise has officially stated that all of their more budget-oriented options are planned to be discontinued. Prisma V1s are still going to come into stock every once in a while until supplies run out, but once that happens, no more Prisma V1s, no more Prisma Pros, no more Prisma Pro Live Blades, you know, the spear point that never really fully made it to production, no more Slifty V2s. So as you can probably guess from some of my past videos, I've kinda garnered a reputation in this hobbying community as one of the more avid MachineWise collectors. So people have been coming to me asking if I've heard the news and what are my thoughts on it. So yes, I am aware of the situation and have in fact actually talked with at least half of their team since they've made this decision and since they've made it public. So what are my thoughts about this? Well, I mean, of course, I'm always a little bit sad about this and all of their stuff being discontinued as somebody who likes to both flip and just collect their stuff. But I have since come to terms with it and accepted it. I mean, of course, I was a little bit surprised at first, but, you know, I understand what they're doing both from a business and an artistic perspective. And speaking of reactions to this, stop harassing them! I get being upset, but so many people have been outright heinous to them about this. If anything, that's going to make them want to leave rather than bring things back. I've seen the negative comments. They range from awful to hateful, and apparently the stuff that's private that they can't disclose gets so much worse. Very few and far between have I seen any critical comments that are actually constructive. So point being, if you are displeased with their decision and you're making threats, stop. It's embarrassing how immature you're being. So enough of the little mini lecture. Let's get into the whys of this decision now. So let's start with one of the most common complaints I've seen, shall we? About their budget stuff being discontinued specifically. Over the years, MachineWise has gotten a reputation as the best value for the money in terms of both quality and performance. And I would agree. You'd be hard-pressed to find anything in these price ranges of similar quality or better. However, that does come with some caveats. Materials are expensive, machine time is expensive, they're a team of 6 people who all need to get paid, they're doing all of this work, and the way that they were pricing these was just not bringing in enough money for them for what they were doing. In fact, I was even told that the Slip team might have actually been a net loss for them over time. I should actually move this because we're talking about the discontinued stuff and the Serif's still in production. And you know what's the real sugar on the cream? Well, I've both been told and have noticed that sales of these have dropped significantly to the point where these could be up on the site for weeks and they just don't sell out for so long. Yes, we're a growing hobby and there's frequently newcomers coming in and budget-oriented ballad songs like these are perfect for them. However, if you haven't noticed, today's market is very different from what it was even just 2 years ago. Growing as a hobby means more people, which is not necessarily a bad thing in of itself. However, that means that there will be more potential makers, and with more makers, there are now more options than there has ever been before. And while we are still technically a niche hobby, we have since passed the point where you can at least reasonably afford collecting most options on the market and try them like we do. And we are actually experiencing some real competition. And if you haven't noticed, the overseas market has also stepped into this hobby. And something that I have noticed is that beginners typically prioritize saving a little bit of money, even if it means getting a generally inferior product such as an LDY Orion or clones. Point being, the sales on these have dropped drastically despite many people saying they still want them around, while a lot of them are probably never going to actually purchase them, whether because of actual legitimate budget reasons or because saying you want things is easier said than done. Anyways, moving on, they also mentioned that they're taking what they learned over the past few years as a reason to also kind of move forward and change things up a bit. Chatting with their engineer Martin, he mentions that the Marin platform has also kind of kept them in a box where it's kind of limited them on exactly what they can do with it and the designs they can put on their blades and also handles generally. Now, I kind of understand that I don't fully understand, but I'm also not an engineer while he is, so it probably makes more sense to them, and it's going to generally make more sense for them, obviously. So for us, we should probably just trust them. I mean, they've made great things in the past, so who's to say they won't continue? I think they might also be moving away from platforms like this just in general because, you know, I completely understand that for a small team like them, a build your own ballad song system might be a bit overwhelming. It's called progress! Stop calling it a mistake! I have also been informed that the scrap rate of the Prisma blades is incredibly high, which I can understand with them being water jet cut. And also apparently, according to Dalen, he kind of hates the design now because it looks cheap to him, which fair enough. So what does this mean for the future of the Marin platform? I don't know, but it's probably over, isn't it? Though luckily, a lot of these Marin platform parts have been made, minus this blade, so a lot of these pop up relatively often for relatively cheap on the secondhand market. However, though, if you start scalping these things, you're not playing it smart, taking advantage of a discontinued market, you're just being a jackass. Also, I've considered talking to the MachineWise team about potentially bringing back some of their discontinued designs every once in a while in small batches as a MachineWise memoriam kind of thing. Though they'll probably be at a slight premium since making things in smaller batches is a little bit more expensive. But it would be a great way to get new parts back into circulation, so we could continue seeing things like these into the future. And maybe, once again, we'll get to see things like these. Or these. Or even these. So really, what should we be getting out of this video? Well, we should really accept that things change and move on. That's just the way of life, isn't it? Things change and move on. We should all really accept that. Don't be hateful. Oh, for the love of God, please don't be hateful. And let's have a little bit more faith in the makers who've always prioritized quality over quantity, shall we? And I think that's it. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you all so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you want to see more of whatever I make, and I'll see you all in the next one.